Good morning. This is Norma Cowie with a Sunday Thought. On Friday, well, the last Friday, was Remembrance Day, or in the US, Veterans Day, where one gets to remember people that have laid down their lives for freedom and to just remember. But I wanted to make it more personal. As you get older in life, you begin to look back on your life and you begin to see where maybe mistakes were made, or you wish you'd taken a different course or a different way of moving things. And so remembering begins to take on a whole different meaning. Now, I have said often in talks, especially my Wednesday Norma talks, about being aware of history, being aware of what's happened in life and history, being aware of how things work in history. And the thing is, everything is a microcosm of the whole. Like I think I've got that the right rewound. Because I know in growth, we were taught when, I was learning personal growth and things, and was what's on the outside is a reflection of inside, stating that your beliefs that you have are reflected inside. Well, of course, me being the curious person that I am, I wanted to find out where those beliefs came from and how do we have this one or that one or the other one. And I speak a lot about that because it's really important. Your life is created by how you, partly because of your beliefs. In fact, a lot of the ways of your belief. But as you get older, as I am now, quite often you will look back and you will see how similar situations have played out in the life. This is your history. Life, our world has a history. And unfortunately, as many historians point out, depending on who writes the history will depend on the slant or the viewpoint that is played. I had a very good history professor in college, and he pointed that out very, very much, that everything was a perception. And our own lives are a perception. We perceive where we're in the right, where we're in the wrong, excuse me, and all of that. But the thing is how our past works and what changes can we make. As a transformational therapist, very often I find a certain age will come up for a person. And that age, and I know I had to do a lot of work on certain ages in my life. I can say 7 was a very big age for me. I had a lot of things went on when I was 7. And just recently, I've had a couple of clients who, even though the transformation work deals with the whole, that there's sometimes we just have to go and do a different process that relates to beginning of a specific age, or using your own memories as the way to go back and transform things. And why do we do that? Is because we freeze in space and time. Now, this is what I came to understand many years ago. When we have trauma, we freeze very often in that trauma. And that part of us is just like a knot in a tree. We grow on and beyond that. But that past, that time, that period sits there. Now, during the trauma, we make decisions. Very often during the trauma, we also split into different parts. Parts of us will believe this, parts of us will believe that, but all around the same trauma. And that can get complicated and not as easy to transform as we can with certain energies. So we have to take a different approach to that. But that, first of all, that has to get isolated, of course. But one of the elements is the necessity of letting go guilt, regret, blame, so that we can look effectively at a situation. And what are the feelings that are stuck there? Because usually, and when we freeze in time, as I call it, we're stuck in an emotion. Yes, in that emotion are belief systems. And the belief systems then begin to move out into the world, and you keep recreating them, because that is a belief that you have about life, about your, especially about yourself. This is a lot about self, how self is, how self works, excuse me, and all those things. And so one of the elements of looking at that is to be more future oriented, in the sense of being able to go back, clear those traumas, clear them, not just ignore them, not just bury them, like putting them in the back of the closet and forgetting they're there. I think they're never forgotten. Your energy field is all of you. Your energy field is consistently in command of where you're at, but also the vibrations from your subconscious, the thoughts that you have, the thoughts that you may not even be aware of that trickle across your mind. I very often will say to clients and students when I used to teach a lot, watch your thinking, because that's the key in. Find out what your thoughts are without judgment. Sit back and just watch the thoughts go by. I used to do that a lot more than I do perhaps today, but mainly because I used to do it often when I was driving. Not recommended, by the way. Now I find it difficult to hold driving and thinking at the same time, so I drive. And but I still can do it in front of the television or just quiet, etc. I'll watch the thinking process like a ticker tape that goes across. Thoughts go back down to the subconscious. Some thoughts we have often, some thoughts happen once in a while. They all contribute to your vibration. And your vibration is what happens and creates into the life. What's on the outside is on the inside. Now, we've just done this big memory on Memorial Day of remembering. But what I find when you talk to people, they don't remember history, even hardly their own. They don't remember world history. I was always fascinated with history, so I read a lot of books. I had a minor in history because I wanted to find out. And as I said, many different versions. Whose were correct? Unless you do a past life regression and go back to that time, you will not know what's correct for you, for sure. But that's what makes life fascinating, and that's what makes life fun. But today, I would like you to just think about what's your past? What have you created over and over again that you wish you didn't? Emotion very often is a leader of that. Do you get angry at things, or do you get sullen? Do you withdraw? Do you go forward? All of those things will have a base in your earlier life. Decisions that you made that worked or not worked. Were you allowed to talk out in your home or not? I used to catch it all the time because I always had an opinion. And so, it wasn't always easy for me. So when I got into a different circumstance, it wasn't my home where I knew I was loved, even though it was harsh. When I would go out in the world, and I didn't always give an opinion. And then now, of course, I have opinions, a lot of opinions, but I spent a lot of years figuring them out. I spent a lot of years figuring out why we as people, how do we work? How do we go? What does it mean? I think we all want to be happy. I think we want to live fulfilling lives as much as we can. We want to get people around us who love us and care for us and be with us. Sometimes that doesn't work out. Sometimes things happen because we're not just an isolated instrument. We react to the world around us, and people react to us as we are. Time to review a little bit, I think. Remembrance Day. Time to review. It's funny, usually over the years, I noticed on Remembrance Day, it usually rained. Well, we had a lot of snow beforehand, so it was very cold on Remembrance Day. And I had actually a wedding to do that I had to drive through, was icy roads, and had to make sure where I parked, and lots of things. Anyway, how do we handle our world has a lot to do with our past. It has a lot to do with the decisions that you made and the circumstances that came up. So it's time sometimes to review that, to take a look and say, life has been really good to me. In lots of ways, life has been incredibly good to me. Other ways, it's like, I didn't handle that well. I didn't handle that as much as I would say handle it now or whatever. And that's life. That's the process of learning. That's the process of going and becoming and knowing that all will be well. I really wish you well on this Sunday, and I really want to thank you for your subscriptions, and I really want to thank you for your comments and likes and shares. Life goes on no matter what. No matter what, the sun comes up the next day. And often that has held me in good stead to know that tomorrow is another day, and this one's passed, and now I can get back on track. But remember, you are a product of your beliefs, attitudes, and judgments that have happened usually when you're young. Take care, look after yourself, love each other, be happy. So we will see you tomorrow night for mental mind treatments. Bye now.